You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Thank you for joining us for Focus on Germantown. I'm Mayor Mike Palazzolo, and I appreciate the opportunity to share what's going on in our amazing city. Here in Germantown, we love to celebrate community. City Grants Manager Alexa Robinson is here to tell us about an exciting community event called the Big Read and the many Big Read community events scheduled through the month of October. Then, drum roll please, Paul Chandler from the Germantown Performing Arts Center reveals this season's GPAC schedule, and he tells us about a new concept event taking place at GPAC's Grove. And finally, Alderman Dave Klevan is in the house to share information about our city's booming economic growth and the impressive success of our Germantown Community Library. For the second year in a row, Germantown was awarded a grant from the National Endowment of the Arts to host a Big Read community event. This year's book is The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Alexa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It's always good to have you. Usually you bring us news of big events, and usually you bring us money to pay for those big events. So tell us a little bit about the Big Read this year.
I would love to. The Big Read is a program of the National Endowment for the Arts. It's actually 10 years old. They began in 2006, and they designed the program to counteract the decline in reading, particularly among young people. And so they created what they call their library of books. There are about 36 books, and communities across the country every year apply to be part of the Big Read program and receive funding to make it happen in their community. And so this is the second year for us to do this, and we're very excited to be back again as what they call a repeat reader, and this year to be doing the classic and really widely appreciated The Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
Well, and I know last year the book was The Wizard of Earthsea.
Yes,
and
yes.
I always like to kid people we're in the Big Read 2.0.
That's right.
And we didn't fail. We're just moving on to another book.
Exactly.
And what a childhood classic for the South especially. It reminds me of the adventure books I liked to read when I was little.
Right, and many of us remember Tom Sawyer from reading when we were young, so it's been particularly fun to go back and revisit the book, reading it from an adult's perspective.
Well, we have not officially, we'll kick off in October when this show is aired. I got to read a excerpt from the whitewash fence portion of the book with the Germantown Symphony. That was one of a precursor event. Tell us about some of the other events.
Well, our kickoff event, our official kickoff event, is happening this Saturday, October the 1st at the Germantown Community Library. And we anticipate a couple of hundred people coming like we did last year. And we have all kinds of things planned at the library to celebrate this book. In addition, we'll be giving away free copies of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. We've already given away over 400 copies. It has been very popular in the community. So that's the goal of the program, is to get everybody reading the same book. So it seems like it's happening.
Wow, and some of the other programs, I know there are many different ones that involve even city staff and other people in the community.
Well, an exciting program, and let me just take a minute to show this brochure that's available at the library and other places around the city that outlines everything. But another exciting event is happening at GPAC, the Germantown Performing Arts Center. It's a program called Mark Twain at Large, and a local individual portrays Mark Twain. Think Hal Holbrook and his one-man show. And so that's going to be very exciting. We also have many things for children that are happening at the library. During fall break, they can come and watch movies related to Mark Twain and Tom Sawyer. They can come to a Becky Thatcher picnic. They're just some really great things.
Well, from last year, when being in the program for the first year and then being the second year, we're seeing a lot of growth because the numbers you've shared,
yes.
I don't remember, it's not double the amount, but it is significantly higher, is it not?
Yes, this is proved to be, have wide acclaim across all age groups and across the entire community.
Well, and the communities that are involved in the Big Read, they tend to stay in the program, so I would envision that we would make this probably a regular event.
Well, we certainly hope so.
Well, great. And some of the other things, you know, one of the neat things that you do for the city, and you've worked for GPAC and now for the city, you work on grants throughout the year. Some are very, very technical, from the Safe Routes to School program to the Big Read. And one I'm very excited about that I am the beneficiary and our city will be as well, is that you located a grant where I can attend a conference at no cost to our taxpayers.
Exactly.
And it's called the Mayor's Institute for City Design. Can you tell the audience a little bit about how we came across that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Just in my different research and being aware of what's going on in the grant world, I came across this program, and it's a nonprofit organization that works with the American Institute of Architects and again with the National Endowment for the Arts. And what they do is they want to get cities together in small groups, have the mayors from different cities come together in small groups and talk about different things that are going on in their community and how the advice that they get can help them fashion things for the future.
Oh, it's a great program, and I really the citizens should owe it all to you for doing the extensive research. I get to be with 7 other regional mayors, and we bring a case study to the conference. Our case study happens to be the Municipal Square block was identified in our Germantown Forward 2030 plan as a block to look at, not necessarily redeveloping it, but how to make it at its highest and best use. And so we'll have the expertise of 7 other mayors and engineers, architects, designers that will help us come up with a plan. So that's another part of your job that is such a blessing for the city. The Big Read goes until the conclusion of this
the end
calendar
of October.
year. Okay.
Lots of things happening, so be sure and pick up a brochure, and you can come and join us. That would be great.
You brought something for me. You always bring me gifts. Would you show the audience?
I brought you a Big Read T-shirt.
Great.
And this is our wonderful logo for this year. And so I would love for you to have this.
Well, thank you.
And we're also giving these out at the library at the kickoff.
And it's two double X, right? Okay. Alexa, thank you so much. For more information about Germantown's Big Read, go to www.germantown-tn.gov/Big Read. Back in a moment with GPAC Director Paul Chandler.
They'll test you, try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back. Paul Chandler is the Executive Director of the Germantown Performing Arts Center, GPAC. the crown jewel of arts in our community. This year's GPAC schedule has shows to fit everyone's interests. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's great to have you. You know, my last guest brought me a gift, so I'm hoping that you're bearing gifts as well. So, well, you have your brochure, and I know that it's such excitement. Whenever you're a guest on the show, we just have a conversation about GPAC. We're entering our 21st season. We've got some of the best jazz in the country, and we have all kinds of other programming. So share a little bit about GPAC this year.
So we're knocking it out of the park, Mayor. Ticket sales are better than ever. We've got sellouts all during the fall. We're going to kick off, speaking of jazz, with the great Ramsey Lewis on October 1st. And then we'll have Dell and Dog, which is a great bluegrass show, Del McCrory and David Grisman. And we also have Lisa Fisher. Not a lot of people know about Lisa, but we're having an Art Savvy, which is free. Lisa Fisher was a background singer for the Rolling Stones, among others, featured in a movie called 20 Feet from Stardom, and she's coming at the end of October.
Wow. Well, you know, we have so much programming at GPAC, from, again, a world-class jazz series to a dance series. We have Jazz in the Box and so many other things from Iris. So give us a little bit more of an appetite of what to expect for the entire year.
So the International Series is doing great also. Ballet Folklorico de Bahia, the Bollywood musical. Those are great. We just, back in September, we kicked off with the Havana, Cuba All-Stars, and people were dancing on the chairs. It was really, really exciting. And then in addition, we've started to experiment with events outside. You may recall the food truck fests that we've been having. So we plan to have those each and every year, one in the spring and one in the fall.
Well, as a matter of fact, let's talk about that a little bit. With the taping of this show, will air in October, but we just had our second installation of our food truck and music festival just this past weekend. We had record heat as well.
We did.
I think the grilled cheeses melted pretty quick from the grilled cheese truck. But tell us a little bit about that concept and how did it spring to life, so to speak? So
just to the north of GPAC is an area we call the Grove. Well, the staff named it the Grove. I don't think anybody went to Ole Miss.
Okay.
But so in that Grove, we looked out there and said, we need to start programming out there. It's a beautiful space. It's under a bunch of big trees and lots of shade. And we started with small events before concerts, but we said, let's bring in a mobile stage, a dozen food trucks, and a bunch of bands. We've had Amy LaVere and Jason D. Williams with record attendance. We had 2,500 the first one, a couple of thousand on the second one, even though with all that heat, that canopy is just so incredible. So we want to do more programming outside and develop the idea that GPAC is not just an indoor space, but you can experience performing arts outside of GPAC.
Well, we would be one of the few venues in the region that would have the option of having an indoor and an outdoor event, or transition to the two spaces, I guess, if there was some kind of weather event.
For a presenter or promoter or ED of a venue, that's gold.
Well, and matter of fact, at the last Food Truck Festival, we had the great privilege to honor some recipients for grants in multiple areas of art, performing arts and other. Can you kind of share a little bit about what's GPAC's role with the Arts Alliance, kind of running its course, and where does GPAC fit in the world of helping smaller organizations?
Sure, Mayor. The city asked us to take over where the Arts Alliance had dedicated several decades of giving grants to Germantown arts organizations and arts programs in the schools. So what we did is develop our process, have an online application, so everyone from the Germantown Community Theater to Iris to the Houston Booster and Germantown High School Boosters for all arts programs in Houston Middle, Riverdale. They all applied. Everyone received, if not 100%, but a portion of what they requested. And we gave away $43,000 in grants, which we plan to do on an annual basis. And GPAC is also raising money to add to that grant pool. So right now we have already $25,000 in our education funding, and the city, as you know, also helps us by adding an additional $40,000, and we facilitate that grant.
Well, and we were part of giving those grants just recently, and those groups, I would call those kind of micro grants, but they're really needed because those organizations rely on funding like that to sustain themselves. An organization that's much bigger than some of those smaller ones is IRIS.
Yes.
So tell the people a little bit about our relationship from the blossoming and the planting of the seed to where we are now, what year, and what do we expect from IRIS this year?
IRIS is in their 16th season, I'm almost certain. So I was around years ago when it got started. We helped create it, fund it, and fuel it. It grew to a capacity where it wanted to be independent and its own 501c3. We house IRIS's administration in GPAC, and we provide the venue for them 5 times a year, plus, a few long-term residencies. It is, I say this a lot, our greatest artistic endeavor in the 21 years we've been around. And it is just classical music at its highest level, and this community is really, really blessed to have those players come in 5 times a year.
Well, I say this all the time, and I know you get tired of me or hearing me say this, but GPAC's truly our gateway to the region, and it always has been. We had more visitors come to GPAC for Iris or jazz or dance or our Americana series or to take ballet. Those visitors come to our city that may or may not have ever been to our city before. They spend time here, and it's not just about spending money in our town. It's more about having a sharing of cultural values. So we're very appreciative of that. I would like to mention, I just was in a conversation the other day. Some people were so proud of some of the outreach that we do. Share with us what we do with Madonna Learning Center each year. We host one of their major events.
Sure, they struggled for many years on where to host their holiday show, which is they rehearse for months and months. The students there at Madonna participate. It is magical. It'll make you laugh and it'll make you cry. So that program is so incredible and such a great asset to the city of Germantown that we host them, and they moved that show to our venue, and they sell out 3 shows a year every December on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's a great way to celebrate your holiday and bring your whole family. And you know,
that's magical, isn't it?
I'll cry if I keep talking about it.
Well, and I know we do also host the Kiwanis has their Rising Star program
Rising
as
Stars,
well.
that's correct. Rising Stars happens every year together with Kiwanis, and that's been going on, gosh, for over 15 years. And Peanut Butter and Jam, one last plug,
right.
That's now in its 18th season, which was started at GPAC, and the very first Peanut Butter and Jam, the entertainer guest was the great Yo-Yo Ma.
Wow. Well, we have about 20 seconds or so left. I know tickets can still be available, so they call you at?
That's 751-7500 and at gpacweb.com. And your gift today is our brochure, Mayor.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Paul. Glad to have you today. When we come back, we will talk to Alderman Dave Klevan and get his take on the amazing growth in our community. You're going to want to hear what he has to say. Back after this.
Really? Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back. Each month, we like to take some time to focus on business. Today, our guest is Germantown Alderman Dave Klevan. Alderman Klevan's civic and community service began over 20 years ago when he first served on the Financial Advisory Commission. His public service has also seen Dave as chairman of the Germantown Chamber of Commerce for 3 years and 6 years as chairman of the Germantown Planning Commission. Dave, thanks for being here on Focus on Germantown today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, great. I talked a little bit about your background in business and economic development. I know you have been the head of our Chamber of Commerce 3 different times, been an active member as well, serving as our Planning Commission chairman. You've really had the pulse on what economic growth means to Germantown and how we've grown over those 20 years or so. Share with us some of the things that you've witnessed along the way and some things that are being worked on now.
You know, I've been blessed to have a lot of good experiences, starting with the Chamber of Commerce and then moving on as a citizen volunteer through the city and having, as you say, the pulse of what goes on in our community and watching the explosion of our economic growth, not once but twice. We had exploded back in the early 90s up into 2000, and the economy took a little time out for a while, and we've recovered from that in a tremendous fashion. In fact, right now we're in an economic boom, and I'm really honored that I was privileged to be on the volunteer side of that for so many years and see part of these. And even a couple years ago, being involved in the Planning Commission, seeing some of these projects come forward, and now being as an alderman, being able to see them come to fruition and come out of the ground and be productive citizens in our community, per se.
Well, we're on the cusp. We know we had an economic development strategic plan that was adopted in 2012. We're starting to see really harvesting that effort now. What are some things that are going on in our community?
Oh, Mayor, it's so exciting. I have to write them down because I have to talk fast on them to try to keep in the time. But 4 major areas of major project just in the 24 months that I've been blessed to be an alderman. Residential, we have 3 subdivisions that have come out. Somerset at 40 lots, Maplewood at 40 lots, Enclave Phase 5 and 6 at 80 lots. In our medical community, we've watched Baptist Rehab be developed. The villages have new and independent and memory care wings. Kimbrough Office Park, the movement of McNeil Company here. West Cancer Center moved from Memphis to Germantown. Mid-South Imaging and Radiology, Crestwood Behavioral Health. On the retail side, Saddle Creek redeveloped, south, north, the Kroger expansion, Whole Foods, Regions Bank, Thornwood, which is our smart growth mixed use, which we've got 60,000 square foot of retail, 110 beds in a motel, and we're going to have a 278 multifamily residential in the back. Education, Madonna Learning Center expansion and Riverdale School expansion, which you see going now. I'm almost there. Retaining ThyssenKrupp Elevators National Worldwide Headquarters was big, and the Trevier project under construction. I say all that to say that generates sales tax. Last year we ended with over $800,000 more than we budgeted in sales tax. This year we're 13% ahead of our projected thing. So with all these things coming on board, it's just, the future is just great.
Well, and I think you did have a very healthy list there, and I appreciate you going over it in detail. The increasing the sales tax, what does that do for our community? You know, we're 85% residential, 15% commercial. So why is that important to the average homeowner?
Because the sales tax can mean so much. Right now, even though we're 85% residential, 58% of our general fund comes from this property tax. The rest is coming from sales tax and the other sources of income. So with those tremendous incomes, that takes the burden off of the taxpayer for property tax. We're going to have a property reevaluation this year. We'll readjust for that. The values are going up. Since we've got our new schools, homes are going through the roof. Everybody wants to live here now. So that's just a great thing. Our occupancy rates are going up. Right now, one of the things that I'm so proud of, that we have almost 98% office occupancy rate, and our retail is at 93.5. The 93.5 may sound a little less than the office rate, but that's with the absorption of over 300,000 new square foot that we had to absorb into it and still maintain that high level of an occupancy rate.
Wow. Well, if you think about it, that's almost 9.5 bays of every 10 has something in it. So it's actually a pretty good number, even though it's less than 98%. Switching gears just a little bit, I know you're passionate about economics, and you've had a good hand in helping the development of that. Something a little bit softer, and I know very dear to your heart with grandchildren, is our community library, and our Germantown Community Library is award-winning. You serve as the liaison on the state-mandated board that the Germantown Community Library has to have. Give us some news about what's going on at our library.
You know, my background being in small business, economic development, the chamber, switching to the library board was such a blessing because it gave me a new exposure and a new vision to look at through a different set of eyes. So proud of all the things we do as our library. Our Friends of the Library is just a volunteer organization that started with 18 people. All of them lived in Memphis when it was Shelby County. Once we transitioned to Germantown, they have over 600 volunteers now.
Wow.
And the library just continues to do great work, such as the Tennessee Battle of the Books. And I say Tennessee Battle of the Books, we have been selected to host this 2016-17 year, the Battle of the Books, which is a great reading incentive for students 3rd through 12th grade. And the purpose is to try to increase the level of literacy throughout the state. We have 3 levels of competition. We have local, regional, and the statewide competition, and we're hosting the entire thing. And I was just told today that Miss Tennessee, Grace Burgess, will be a celebrity judge in the spring when this all comes to an end. So we're just so happy of all the things going on at the library.
Well, the library is truly a neat, it is one of our community centers. And the Battle of the Books, you're right, it began here in Germantown and has spread statewide. So all 3 grand divisions are now participating.
The Battle of the Books, Books from Birth, the Big Read, all of this, just people ask the question, I don't know if you or I said it one time, I think I said this, that if you want to know if our library is doing good, you don't have to look at statistics, look at the parking lot. It's always full. And that's a great sign that it's being used, and it's being used to the best intentions.
Well, we only have about 30 seconds or so left. I always like to ask about public safety, and I know that you're very proud of some of the things that have gone on from police and fire.
I am. You know, public safety is number one. That's what provides everything else and the quality of life that we enjoy. And our crime is down significantly this year. We've added new policemen. We've added new pumpers to the fire. We've stayed on the cutting edge. And I'm so proud of all our public servants and our EMTs and our firefighters and our police.
Alderman Klevan, thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking the time to focus on Germantown. We welcome your comments and ideas for what you'd like to hear about on this show. Email me at mayor@germantown-tn.gov. If you'd like more information on this show or any other shows on Germantown Municipal Television, please visit our website at www.gmtvonline.org. From all of us here at Germantown Television and from City Hall, we invite you to join us when Focus on Germantown returns next month.